Hello and welcome to the latest from Heart Standard. My name is Joe Sked. Well, there it is. A new era at Heart of Midlothian Football Club. We think, we hope, is well and truly underway. I'm just back from Tynecastle Park from the Tony Bloom event at the Gorgie Suite. Not really sure what to say. Probably need a couple of days to process and digest Bloom's comments in full. There were so many reading as a fan or like listening to it as a fan that should energize and excite the support. And you've seen it with the reaction to a number of things that Bloom said on the evening that you're just thinking, like, wow, is he actually saying these things? For example, I think the days of it being a 2-run race have gone. When asked about disrupting Scottish football looks like, it means that at the start of each season, the fans and media are not talking about being a 2-run race. That will not be the case from now on. Every game Heart of Midlothian play in, we will play to win. Every tournament Hearts are in, we are aiming to win it. I accept the fact that when we get into the Champions League, that may be a little difficult, he said with a laugh. The target every season is to finish third. That's what he said. That's what people at the club told him. I'm hoping, this is Bloom speaking, I'm hoping that will now change. So the absolute minimum each season that we should finish is third, and we should be trying to win the league and compete with Celtic and Rangers. I didn't think we would have anyone, or we'd be hearing such claims again after what we went through with Romanoff. But it's everything you want to hear as a supporter, as a fan. Ambitions, expectation, raising of standards. You want to have something to aim for. You don't want to just have to settle for, and we've all become kind of used to it in Scottish football. You don't have to settle for best of the rest. It requires obviously something special to do that, and Hearts believe they have that with the Bloom investment, with Jamestown's analytics. But it's the fact that Bloom over the course of the evening said everything so matter-of-factly, like it wasn't there was like no grandstanding about it. There's no kind of like, oh, I'll say this just because that's what people want to hear. Everything was measured and controlled, and it was clearly delivered with confidence, but also belief and thought. And it's a fact that he is saying it himself, someone with his success both in football and business as well. It is, you're kind of just going up to Tynecastle, just thinking, right, hearing from someone who doesn't speak too much, and you're so used to a lot of people within football playing down or talking down the like ambitions and aims, and it's always like the cliche of one game at a time. But Bloom was just so kind of forthright, but with it just felt kind of like natural to him. I don't know if it's just because he's an outsider, has come into Scottish football where we're all kind of brainwashed, for a better word, to do like it's Celtic and Rangers. That's or more recently now Celtic. That's how football, Scottish football is, and it never will change. And we're kind of just all on this journey where we know roughly what the end point is going to look like each season. But just everything he kind of talked about from Jamestown, his experience, his belief. He talked about how maybe if it wasn't Union Saint-Gilloise didn't have the success they did, that maybe he wouldn't be as confident or have the belief he has. But he's seen what happens in action. I think he was asked about the comparison between Hearts and Union Saint-Gilloise, and he says, I think there are less obstacles for Hearts to overcome. And then that's where he talked about the target each season is should be trying to win the league to compete with Celtic and Rangers, and is the fact that, well, he wouldn't give any guarantees. I'll get the quote that he said. Where is it? It's very difficult to be confident of winning a title or a cup in any one season. I'm supremely confident that over the next 5 years, Hearts will have an extremely good squad competing near the top of the league. Whether we are actually good enough to win the title, there are obviously no guarantees on that. But I'll be very disappointed if in the next 10 years we don't win at least one league title. What excites me is bringing really good players, watching Hearts win games. I'm addicted to winning, success and winning titles, and that's what I want to see happen here at Tynecastle. While I just found it interesting, well, he didn't give any guarantees on individual seasons because he's a very successful betting man, so he's never going to do guarantees. But it's the fact that he's like minimum is the third now for the club, and that title challenges should be the norm. And it doesn't sound like he's talking about 5 years down the line. It's like he's kind of talking about in the immediate future. That puts pressure on everyone at the club, but it's something that, again, go back to something he said, like, I've always thought that the expectation at Hearts is really, really big. I think there's acceptance from the Hearts support that there's a big expectation. He talked about he says Hearts fans have every right to have big expectations. I don't think historically the expectations have been big enough. That was probably or maybe the club haven't been good enough on the pitch. That's I think the latter of that is more factual than the former, because the expectations have been big amongst the Hearts support, and the delivering what's been delivered on the pitch hasn't been good enough. When you look at the standing of the club, and you look at the 150 years of Hearts, when you compare the expectation of the support to what has been delivered, and it's been a massive failure. Not winning a League Cup since the 1960s, not winning a league since 60s as well. Then you look at the Scottish Cup, having waited so long to win that, and then even now, it's just like, for a club where Hearts fans think they're a really big club, there's not had a team to consistently, or people within the club to consistently match that. And now there is someone who's been really successful come in and just goes, you know what, Hearts should be aiming even higher. That's incredibly exciting to hear, and it's really refreshing to hear. And having been in the room tonight, and you heard like the gasps and the kind of the audible gasps and the almost nervous laughter. Is like, is he actually seeing this? Are we actually going to have a bit of success? You even talked about, was it the Conference League of where's the quote, Hearts will continually improve. I think he was asked about success in Europe. The Conference League is a winnable tournament if Hearts get in it. The Europa League is obviously tough, but as Hearts continue to improve and if things go right in one-off games, there's no reason a Scottish team can't win the Europa League. That means there's no reason that Hearts can't win the Europa League. Or it was maybe the Conference League, but even then you're thinking, Jesus. This goes back to Vlad and the kind of the Champions League. But again, you have to reiterate that this is Tony Bloom saying it, with his experience in football and his knowledge and expertise. And he talked about being able to open up doors or strategize with his kind of contacts that'll help Hearts. It was a wee bit of a whirlwind. I will, before going on to chat about other things, I will have a wee look at the comments and see what's been said. Thomas says, of saying what every Hearts fan loves to hear, having lived through the Romanoff, he proved it is possible to challenge if you get good players. TP is more sane than Vlad as well. Expletive. Spearhead, I seen someone tell you your reaction on X. Didn't expect you to come on. Fair play. You're as excited as I am. I was fully ready just to come home from tonight and go to my bed after being out the last couple of nights for the Fringe. But this was an important thing to do, because tonight was big. It was very different. I don't think it was anything that anyone expected it to be. So yeah, it's with his comments, it could only deserve a live reaction. Why not have ambition? No point in investing just to sit on it. Love it, to be honest. That's the things like this. He's invested, and he got asked this. So if you're watching on the YouTube channel, they cut off before they opened the floor to questions. So he took questions from the floor, but that was kind of just a foundation thing. I think one of the first questions was what's in it for him, and he just talked about it being It's not a financial thing for him. It's an emotional thing for him. He wants to be involved and try and disrupt Scottish football with a club, and that club he's chosen is Hearts. So there's other things, like he's not in it to make money back. He's in it to be part of a success and try and disrupt Scottish football. So yeah, that's hugely encouraging. But also, please be, if you do let me know what your thoughts are on the Tony Bloom's comments in the comment section here. I'll try and get around to getting through them all. Is the game go? I'm not sure about the game with the weather tomorrow. James Govan says, I love the bullish chat. Feels like the early days of Romanoff, Peter Chalmers. We're going for the treble. Why? I know. Well, the only thing that Tony Bloom didn't say was the belief of aiming for a treble. I've heard this my whole life. Third is always going to be the best we can hope for. That's the mentality that I think that Bloom wants to change around the club, and kind of reiterates the fact that Bloom and his success, he's coming in, and that's the big thing. We're so ingrained in Scottish football of just like Celtic and Rangers, and it's going to be difficult to shift that mindset. But you're hoping that someone with Tony Bloom and his influence around the club can help shift that, because that's probably a big thing. To be successful is to shift the mindset of it's only Celtic and Rangers that have success. And you go back years, and that's a big thing. When Alex Ferguson had success with Aberdeen, he talked about the mentality of going to Glasgow. Lynn Cameron was a very good evening. It certainly was a very surprising evening. Old Firm can be split, says Jack. No one had the bottle of brass to come out and say it and do it. We've seen it this weekend. I know you're only looking to one specific weekend, but Rangers are in a big transition period. They just can't seem to get things right since they went on their journey down to the leagues, and then back again. They are after following their liquidation, and then Celtic haven't really. Every time you think they're going to go on to that next level, they don't really go there, but they still are the best team in the league. Corey Boys podcast says, if anyone can pull off, it's Bloom. We have seen that with USG and Brighton. Dougal says he's clearly not a foolish man, so his confidence about at least being in the argument makes me believe in the project even more than I did before. And that's the big thing, was that while he wouldn't put guarantees on titles, like that's the aim and that's the ambition, it was the fact that one of the first things he said was about it's no longer going to be basically a two-horse race. I can assure you of that. And it's because I've kind of seen the headlines about the Celtic and Rangers two-horse race is over. He's kind of really, he did, without saying that in strictly those words, by saying what he did in terms of assuring that it's no longer just going to be Celtic and Rangers, he did essentially say that it's going to be time, that it's not going to be the start of the season, it's not going to be Celtic and Rangers just mentioned, it's going to be Celtic, Rangers and Hearts. And then I think he would want other teams to be able to make that jump and have Scottish football be more competitive. The difference this time, says Andrew, is everything else behind the scenes is stable. We've built the foundations to now grow. That's another thing that big takeaway was just how positive he was about the foundation. He talked about kind of urging people to continue to back. So there was like, whether you're a young fan or old, don't worry about the fact that we haven't had that much success in the last few years. I can confidently predict the club is going places. Support the club in any way you can. The foundation does a brilliant job, and it'd be good to get even more foundation members. I really look forward to the journey ahead. And again, it's a really excellent, even put on by the foundation. These events have been brilliant and given an insight into the club and something different, and provided that connection with the fans and what's going on at the club. And it feels like that's going to continue. And Bloom spoke very positively about the foundation. He spoke very, very positively about Anne Budge and how the instrumental role that she had in bringing in getting the deal done, and the conversations he had with her. So he was very, very positive about that. So you go back to Anne Budge. She's obviously had criticism from fans over the last few years, but you go back to the role she played in getting the club out of administration, and now the role she's played in bringing someone like Tony Bloom into what he says is bringing him in with the club and making him feel welcome, and putting him in a place where he's able to say this. Darren Ross says, I do think it will take a good 5 successful seasons in terms of being best of the rest, competing in cup finals, selling players for much larger profits before I think we can be challenging the top 2. So yeah, just to on the, it's going to be a it's going to be a process. Hearts are not immediately going to be winning trophies or titles, or even just even like really challenging. It is going to be a process, and that's the big thing about Jamestown is I need to bring players in to give them a platform and sell them on and get more money, reinvest it, and kind of build that way the way USG have done. And also Europe's going to be massive for that, qualifying for Europe, not just qualifying for Europe, but the difficulty with the coefficient as it is now. There's no Hearts, just say Hearts win the Scottish Cup or finish third next season. There's no guarantee of like 8 European games. So we're going to have to go through qualifiers. So it makes a wee bit trickier, but getting into Europe and being there for every season and playing a lot of games is going to be massive for the club's development, both kind of financially, their standing, but also for kind of player trading as well. James Govan said he was so much more bullish than I thought that you'd be equally nervous and buzzing. Yeah, I think it's like that's the thing for me. Was like you kind of just speaking to mates or just speaking to folk there. It's like can't believe he's just been so matter of fact, so outright, and it was quite a picture seeing people's reactions. Graham says, I wish the club hadn't put that up live. Now every opposition manager has their team talk prepped. Who do they think they are? Let's put them down a peg. We need to be prepped for this. I mean, again, that kind of stuff that I don't think Tony Bloom will be overly fussed about. He's very much takes a kind of emotion out of things, and he'll say that Hearts have got a great squad and they'll be able to deal with teams raising the game because Hearts have been bullish. But yeah, I would, to quote some a message got earlier on, bring it on. I think that's a big thing for Hearts now. Is just it's out in the open. It's been said, and now just bring it on and let's see what can happen. Didn't know Hearts had an exclusive with JT in Scotland Premier. Yeah, that was always the case. It's been I've been reported back. It was always going to be the case. You go down to England and Ipswich were using Jamestown, but as soon as they got into the Premier League, they had to stop using it because they were in the same league as Brighton. So yeah, that's and Hearts have got that kind of exclusivity in Scotland as well. So it's going to be massive. Derek Anderson says, is there a way to listen to the Tony Bloom interview from tonight? Yes, it is on the Heart of Midlothian YouTube channel. So once you finish listening to me, you can hop across to the Hearts YouTube channel and you can listen to it there. Scottish TV Gold. He was very measured when you compare to Romanov's declaration 20 years ago. This guy's a real deal, and I'm certain he expects us to win very soon. Yeah, and that's another thing. It's his expectation is very high. So looking forward to hearing Dennis McInnes's take on Bloom's comments, because I'm sure he'll talk about it being a process, and it's not immediate. You have to take into consideration that Hearts did finish bottom 6 last season, so that was. It's still a big jump to be made, and hopefully a big jump can be made this season. Did it come to surprise you that he doesn't actually own Jamestown Analytics? No, just the way he was heavily involved in it. And it getting to where it is, I think more involved in Star Lizard, where Jamestown's like an offshoot of that. So no, wasn't a massive surprise. Hearts need a winning mentality installed at the club, absolutely. Let's see. Try not to get swept away on all the positivity. Seen too many false dawns at Tynecastle, but here's hoping. Yeah, I think a lot of people will be thinking that. Oh, Harry Strutt says, do you think we'll have Magnuson and Kabori announcement before tomorrow's game? I'm beginning to. I don't know anything for sure, but it's running out of time. That's all I would say. I was hoping that maybe one or both would have been announced over the weekend, but maybe just to fill in to feed into the feel good factor. One or two might be announced tomorrow, but yeah, it's been a frustrating wait. Bendy Water says, I did expect to see a continuous improvement with Bloom, but now you've spoken, it's very exciting to see where that ceiling could take us. I think that's the big thing. As long as there is, if you're asked to Bloom, you'd probably say there isn't a ceiling. So that'll be that'll be interesting. It's absolutely fascinating. James asks, as a Hearts fan and journalist, generally, how excited are you after tonight? Maybe excited tomorrow. It's a wee bit of a whirlwind where I just like it's feel like I've got whiplash, if that's the right way to put it. It's just I just didn't expect, like a lot of people didn't expect them to be. I expected them to be bullish, but I didn't expect them to be so bullish. And it's just everything you want to hear as a journalist. Covering a successful Hearts side is going to be so much easier than covering the dross that was served last season. That was really tough. It was really, really difficult last season. So yeah, from a professional point of view, very excited by that. But as a Hearts fan, I'd be absolutely buzzing and excited and intrigued and fascinated and captivated by what could happen. Start something special. That's what it feels like. So yeah, who knows what the next few months and years will bring. There's loads of comments, so I'll try and get a few more. Philip says, well done, Budge. Doesn't get the gratitude she deserves. I think it's the fact that Blue mentioned it a few times. I think it was a really important message that he put out there on that. And it's clear that she was very key to making this all happen. Adrian says, "Oh, that's a big comment. I can barely see my face, which is good." Tony Bloom knows the stature of Hearts and huge underachieved potential of our club and the latent support out there. He also knows European football and that a capital city the size of Edinburgh should have a regularly competing at a high level in European arena. Hearts being the actual big club in the city, football tourism within Europe has continued to grow massively, and Hearts and Edinburgh have a wonderful opportunity for visits from European football fans throughout the world or Europe. I think I like that. That was something that Bloom mentioned as well, is how big a draw Edinburgh is for players to live in, but also the potential there when Hearts grow, the opportunity to be attractive club for sponsors and the commercial side of things that'll bring in, because again, that's important, that it's not just the on-field stuff that progresses, but off-field everything moves as one. That if Hearts become a bigger club on the field, become a bigger club off the field, and it's kind of cyclical, and it all moves forward as one. Let's see. Not sure about all this. I just talked to a couple of Hibs mates who support Hibs, and the result against the mighty Dundee, according to them, they have basically won the league. It's interesting, some of the response tonight, and it's natural. Would be the way the other, if it was flipped, that there's a lot of skepticism from fans out with other fans from Scottish football, whereas like Hearts fans are really excited, whereas fans of other clubs are very, very skeptical. There's read a lot from different supports, but that is only to be expected. David McGee says, isn't Kabori already signed and sealed? Yeah, well, everyone's pretty much done. It's just waiting on a work permit, and that's as kind of simple as that. Will Run DMC, guessing means Derek McInnes, be looking to do more business in the next few weeks? Yeah, I would imagine so, if there are, depending on who exits and potential injuries and how the squad's shaping up. Hearts will be keeping an eye on things, but I think the vast majority of the business is done. One game at a time, don't look too far ahead. I'm afraid the cat is out of the box on that one, Andrew. We are looking at winning titles. Any more? The neutral says, I'm a Hearts fan. If Hearts win the league in the next decade, I'll donate £200 to 200, I'm guessing pounds, to some charity in Edinburgh in happiness. Well, you can do it to Big Hearts. That's a nice place to go. So, is there anything else? I've gone through most of the comments. Is there anything else I need to say? Probably not. No, I think it's kind of covered everything. The other thing I was going to say was it was clear from what he said about, got asked a lot kind of about multi-club ownership and the links between Union, Saint-Joan, Hearts and Brighton and Hearts, is that he very much treats the club as their own entities. There's knowledge to be shared. We've seen that this season. Alex Muzio, who's very close, who bought Brighton with Tony Bloom, and then he became majority shareholder when Tony Bloom had to become a minority shareholder for Union Saint-Joan. Alex Muzio's been working closely with Hearts, or providing a wee bit of insight and knowledge around Jamestown and the kind of how it works and how kind of best to use it. So there's going to be that knowledge sharing that's possible between the clubs, but everything's very much treated as their own club, and he doesn't. It's not like there's no feeder clubs or like a sister club. Everyone's just very much on their own standing, which I think is a point important to note. Stephen Fagan says, did you join in singing the Heart song at the end of the meeting? No, I did, because no one wants to hear me sing. Any interesting points made at the Q&A at the end that wasn't streamed? I'm struggling to remember what the Q&A questions were and what weren't. I don't think there were many. The most interesting one for me was just what's in it from him. One of the early questions was what's in it for him out of this, and he just talked about the emotional side of things rather than the financial side of things. But I will leave it there. I've rambled on for long enough. Just kind of finish up. There's been a real feel-good factor building around the club, from McInnes being appointed to the Bloom deal being ratified, to Shankland re-signing. You had new players coming in. There's been a really good start to the summer with the Sunderland result in the Premier Sports Cup fixtures. But I felt like tonight was different, and it goes back to, I think it was James that asked me about what's like feeling. It was just like tonight, it felt different. It stirred something within the people that are there, and it just felt like tonight was a bit of a staging post. I think it's a new era. So I think it's a new era for Hearts, the beginning. I think this is where it begins. The beginning of something that could be very, very special. And an early goal against Aberdeen tomorrow night, provided the game hopefully goes ahead with all the weather chat. And it feels like the roof could come off. And he, it just felt that Tony Bloom was really excited to see what Tynecastle can deliver. And here's hoping this is going to be a start of a fascinating and successful and exciting X number of years. There will be setbacks. Tony Bloom mentioned that, but there'll be losses, there'll be poor performances. But if everything's aligned and everything goes as it should, then Hearts should be a success. Before I finish, that's a very good point. James Govan asks, no West Coast bias questions. Nope, from the Q&A. Actually, there was, and there was regarding both media and referees, but Tony Bloom was like, I'm not aware of that, and he kept it. He answered it very, very well. I will. Scottish TV Gold, most optimistic I've been since 2005. I am very much the same. Beat Aberdeen, hopefully, on Monday night, and that trip to Tannadice can be like 20 years ago when won 3-0. Andrew says, it's hope that kills you. Facts. It is, but we're at the start. You want hope. You don't want. Hope is better than. What's the phrase I'm looking for? Hope is far, far better than acceptance of what Scottish football is, and it's taking Tony Bloom to come in, and he's stirred the pot. Hopefully, it will be more than words, and Hearts will deliver on the pitch. We will see in the coming days, weeks, months, and years. Until when we come back to review the Aberdeen game, be sure to check out heartstandard.co.uk. There is a wee bit on tonight, just some of the interesting quotes around wanting to challenge and it not being a two-horse race anymore. He can assure you that, and there'll be a bigger piece going up tomorrow morning, just kind of looking at the evening and what it means as a whole. And there'll be some stuff from Bloom later on tomorrow afternoon. I think there's I'm going to a kind of media thing with Bloom, sitting down with some in the media on Monday. So it'll be interesting to see what he says from that, and there'll be reaction from that before the Aberdeen game, which hopefully goes ahead, and I need to stop speaking and go to bed myself. So thank you very much, everyone, for staying up and listening to my ramblings on a Sunday night, and I'll see you again at some point. Bye.